Hola amigos, welcome back to my channel. So as you probably know, I've been reacting to a lot of Filipino content in the past, and my YouTube feed is currently filled up with Filipino related content. And yeah, I thought I should get more in touch and learn more about Filipino culture and everything related to the Philippines, because I really want to travel there. People seem to be so nice, so I want to know more about the culture there. And I found this video by The Savvy Expat. I will link the original video in the description below. It's by The Savvy Expat, and it's called What's Considered Rich in the Philippines. So I want to find out where I stand in the Philippines, if I ever want to move there, or visit there. So without any further ado, let's just see what this video has for us today. Let's go.
What's up, Savvy Expats? In today's video, we're breaking down income brackets to determine what's considered rich in the Philippines. So by the end of this video, you'll understand what's categorized as poor, middle class, and rich in this country. Alright, without wasting time, let's get into it. First, we start off with Philippine income brackets and salaries. The average salary in the Philippines is around $500 per month or $6,000 annually. That said,
I think that's not too far from the Mexican minimum wage. I'll check after. $500. That's around 10,000 Mexican pesos. I think that's pretty close to the minimum wage.
salaries range from $200 per month on the low-paying end and $4,000 per month on the high-paying end. So you may ask, what do these jobs consist of? Well, in terms of the low-paying jobs, this consists of blue-collar work, like a waiter, a cashier, a construction worker. You get the idea. But diving deeper into that, let's talk about the salaries of low-paying jobs in the Philippines to give you a better understanding. First off, a construction worker in the Philippines makes $250 per month. It depends on the individual, but the average driver makes $260 per month. A cook also makes $260 per month. A plumber also makes $260 per month. A waiter makes around $300 per month. An electrician also makes $300.
I really feel like I'm watching a video of Mexican salaries as well, because this is pretty accurate also. Well, without doing much research and just speaking off the top of my head, I think this is pretty accurate, also pretty similar to what you would be getting paid in Mexico for doing these jobs as well. So when I've reacted to videos about the Philippines before, people did comment a lot that our cultures were very similar, but I didn't really think we would be so similar with our economies. But it seems like we're brothers. Let's continue and see and find out.
Per month. A cashier makes around $350 per month, and a receptionist makes $385 per month. And so as you can see, as none of these jobs break the $500 per month mark, this categorizes the low-paying jobs in the Philippines. And also, keep in mind that the average salary in the Philippines can just as well be $800 to $1,000 per month. Now, let's move on to the middle-class jobs of the Philippines. These salaries often comprise of office jobs in a professional environment requiring some sort of degree or education. First off, nurses roughly make $500 per month, some lower, some much higher. Firefighters and police officers generally make $500 per month. An architect roughly makes $600 per month. An accountant also makes $600 per month. A software engineer makes around $700 per month. A sales representative,
And I'm guessing maybe these are entry-level positions, because when he says
here makes around $700.
a software engineer, I mean, yeah, $700 a month, at least in Mexico, that could be a starting salary. But when you're a software engineer, you can build up a career and become a senior software engineer, a team leader, or a VP of whatever, right? The head of a department, blah, 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 blah. So this can range a lot higher than that. But I'm guessing he's talking about entry-level positions, which I think in Mexico also you would get $700 a month when you're starting out. But that can, of course, grow a lot.
$100 per month. A sales representative makes around $750 per month. A real estate agent almost makes around $1,000 per month. An IT manager makes around $1,050 per month. An aircraft pilot makes around $1,100 per month. And lastly, let's cover the highest paying jobs in the Philippines. A dentist makes $2,300.
Wow, a dentist makes $2,300 a month. I was not expecting that. I think that's much higher than the Philippines. But I mean, shout out to the dentist of the Philippines. I think that it looks like they're making a good living. Maybe it's because there's a lot of demand but not enough supply of dentists. And yeah, that's pretty good. I don't think dentists in Mexico are making that much. maybe. Yeah, I'm not so sure.
Dollars per month. An attorney makes $3,500 per month.
yeah.
A surgeon makes $5,000 per month.
And I'm guessing this is all on average, right? So it like I was saying, you can get a much better career as a lawyer when you have been in the company for many years as compared that when you're starting up, but these are just average.
A judge makes $4,200 per
Wow.
month, and a lawyer makes $3,400 per month. So now you have a basic understanding of the income brackets in the Philippines categorized by their economic class. From a Western perspective, you may be shocked by how low these salaries seem, but keep in mind that these salaries are exceptional relative to the country's cost of living. Of course, in the US, it would be hard to get by on the Philippine middle class salary. But in the Philippines, a little goes a long way. Now let's move on to the question you came here for. What's considered rich in the Philippines?
Okay,
Simply
let's
put,
find out.
anything over $4,000 per month is categorized as rich in this country.
Yeah, okay, that would be pretty much the same as well in Mexico. If you are making $4,000 a month, that's 80,000 Mexican pesos, and that's before taxes. But after taxes, you would maybe get home around 50,000 Mexican pesos, which is also really good. You can pretty much live a good lifestyle in any Mexican city. Of course, if you're single, right? If you have a family, then it might vary how rich you are. If you have to feed 6 people with 50,000 Mexican pesos, that's a bit different. But if you're one person living on that, you can live like a king. I don't know in the Philippines if this $4,000 a month, if that's for one person or for an entire family.
So if you're making over $48,000 per year in your country, you come here to the Philippines and you're balling. Because technically, you're living like lawyers, surgeons, and political officials. If you're making over $100,000 per year, forget about it. You're Elon Musk here. No, but in all seriousness,
Yeah, but I think $100,000 is a pretty good salary all over the world.
according to SalaryExplorer.com, 95% of the people in the Philippines make less than $4,000 per month. So this is why you'd be classified as rich if you make this amount of money per month. Because to put it into perspective, if $2,000 per month is enough for an expat to get by in the Philippines, just imagine what $4,000 per month can do for a local here. But let me give you a clearer understanding about how income brackets are categorized here. We're categorizing this based off of 5 economic classes, and that is first, the poor class, second, the lower middle class, third, middle class, fourth, upper middle class, and fifth, rich. So what's considered poor in the Philippines? Anything below a $200 monthly income is considered poor in this country. Now, as for the lower middle class, $400 to $850 monthly income falls into that bracket. Next, $800
I think 400 to 850 in Mexico would be pretty much middle class. But again, I'm not sure if he's talking about families or one single person. That makes a huge difference.
$1,500 monthly income is the middle class, and $1,500 to $2,500 monthly income is the upper middle class. Lastly, as I've mentioned, anything over $4,000 per month is what puts you in the rich or affluent class. By the way, these numbers are according to the Philippine Institute of Development Studies. And so by these numbers that we talked about, you should be able to determine where you lie in terms of your economic class here. While you may be in the lower middle class in your country, chances are you're in the upper middle class in the Philippines. And so this is one of the main attraction points for many expats moving to the Philippines for the cost of living.
Yeah, in Mexico we have the same. There's a lot of expats from the USA that move to Mexico because their savings can last much longer in Mexico. So they're not necessarily expats, but they're people that retire in Mexico and just live their final years by the beach with their savings. Oh, I see a Mexican flag here. That's pretty cool. You cannot see it, but yeah, there's a Mexican flag here. Anyway, I got distracted. Yeah, there's a lot of Americans that go to Mexico to spend their final years, and I'm guessing maybe the Philippines could be a good destination as well for wealthy people that want their fortune to last longer. But of course, at least in Mexico, that creates a problem when a lot of Americans move to an area, and prices start going up, because if a lot of Americans live there, wealthy Americans, then people start charging for more, because they know that these people have money. But then the locals, the actual locals, the Mexicans, they can't afford these prices anymore, so they have to move out, because the rents increase because they are targeted for these Americans, but then the locals cannot live there anymore, and it creates a problem. So hopefully the Philippines doesn't have this problem, because he's saying a lot of expats move there.
On a budget that would barely allow you to get by in places like
There's a Mexican flag.
California or New York, you can live in some of the best cities that money can buy in the Philippines on that same budget. For example, though my family's expenses would be considered high by most locals here because we live in BGC, it's still much lower than our expenses in Chicago, and this was before inflation. And so this is something that you'll likely see when living in the Philippines. I'll tell you, if you're living in Chicago, New York, or California, your expenses will significantly decrease even if you're living in some of the highest end cities of the Philippines. Now, I don't want to give you the idea that it's plain out cheap to live in these cities, but relative to the current US, it's much more affordable here. Not only that, but your lifestyle will change in numerous ways. For instance, one of my favorite hobbies is playing tennis, so at least once a week I'll meet up with my trainer and we'll play. In the US, tennis lessons are usually around $45 per hour or even more than that. But here in the Philippines, despite tennis courts being exclusive to mostly a higher social class, it only cost me $20 per lesson. And you know what?
Okay, I really feel like this video could be titled what's considered rich in Mexico as well, because those prices, they really seem familiar. $20 for a tennis court, tennis lesson in Mexico, that's totally doable as well. You wouldn't pay $45 unless you're doing it in a fancy club, in a fancy city. Yeah, maybe. And I would still doubt that it's $45 for a lesson. Not sure, but definitely not in the city where I live, at least, or where I grew up. That wouldn't be 900 pesos. That's a lot.
That's for 2 hours of tennis lessons.
Oh my god! Wow!
So for half the price, that's including the court fee, the training, the games, and the ballboys. What we and countless other expats love about living in the Philippines is that the same budget that will offer you an okay lifestyle in the US will offer you a much nicer lifestyle in the Philippines. And aside from cost of living, numerous expats love the Philippines for the Philippines, not only just because it's affordable. For instance, at one of my tennis lessons, I met a foreigner from Denmark. Knowing Denmark is one of the most expensive countries to live in, I asked him if he moved here for the cost of living. He said no. I then asked him if he moved here for work. Yet again, he said no. And so here am I thinking that there are several studies that Denmark has not only the highest standard of living and quality of life.
Okay, I gotta say, I actually live in Denmark, and I recognize this street. This is called Stroget. I've been there many times. This is in Copenhagen, and it is quite expensive in Denmark. That's funny he brought it up. I'm actually going there later today. It's at the moment I'm recording this video is Saturday, and this is in the city center in Copenhagen. That's pretty cool. You have Lægehuset, that's a cake brand here. You have New Yorker, that's a clothes shop that I've been to many times. The Gamle Apotek, that means the old pharmacy. There's a gift shop. Wow, it's just funny that he has Denmark over here. That's so funny.
But it's also proven to be the happiest country on earth. And so
they say it's the happiest country on earth, but yeah, the way they measure happiness, it's a bit strange, let's say.
A little confused, I asked him, well, why did you move here then? And he just plainly responded, I just like it here. But you know what, guys? By the way he said it, it just seemed so genuine and from the bottom of his heart. He lived in the east coast of the US and the west coast of the US, to Thailand, to Vietnam, to Denmark, and yet he still chose the Philippines. And it wasn't because of the cost of living, it wasn't because of the work, it was just plain out because he loved the country. My point
Okay, it sounds like I really need to visit the Philippines.
is, cost of living aside, the Philippines has a lot to offer, hence why foreigners are leaving some of the supposed best countries on earth for the Philippines. You won't believe how many emails I get of expats itching to leave the US. And mind you, from the East Coast to the West Coast, I get these emails of people that have high-paying jobs, a wife, a family, family, a nice house, you name it. Back then, people would call you deranged to leave that kind of life behind in America. But nowadays, it doesn't seem too far from reality. So while this country isn't for everyone, if it is, however, the country for you, you will love it. Not to mention, the Philippines has grown tremendously in a short period of time, and it will continue to grow economically. As some of you may know, the Philippines is one of the fastest growing economies in Asia. Believe it or not, the city that I live in, BGC, didn't even exist 25 years ago. This entire city, with urbanized skyscrapers, high-rises, condos, and international establishments, was built in the span of only 20 years. And so it just goes to show where the Philippines is headed economically speaking. In addition to that, Manila has gone through some massive transformation over the years. If you were living in places like Makati back in the early 2000s, you would see that it was pretty much the red light district. There was plenty of working women, girly bars, and drugs going on. But nowadays, places like Makati is completely cleaned up of all of that type of activity, and it's where the affluent reside. But going back to the question of what's considered rich in the Philippines, anything over $4,000 per month would classify you as rich here. If there's expats that come here with $1,000 per month and $2,000 per month, you can only imagine what $4,000 per month can provide you in this country. Even if you're in the middle class range, $850 to $1,500 per month, generally that's on the lower end of the spectrum, at least for many expats. I generally recommend that you come here with at least $1,500 per month. Now if you're willing to live frugally, $1,000 can cut it. But even at that, you don't want to push it too far down where you're just existing and not living. Then again, we all have different preferences for our lifestyle. Though many expats have done it, I wouldn't personally recommend it. That's what I'm saying. Now if you fall in the upper middle class bracket,
I actually want to also know how's the safety in the Philippines, because I've been saying a lot of times throughout this video that this sounds a lot like Mexico, but I haven't considered that in Mexico it can actually be a dangerous country depending on the area, depending on what you're doing, what time you go out at night. But if you can have a good lifestyle in the Philippines and be safe, that's huge. That's I'm in a few Facebook groups for expats living the US to go to Mexico, just because I'm curious to see what people are saying there. And a lot of questions that people ask in this group is Mexico safe? Can I move there safely? And can I bring my family and all of that? And that is one of the biggest reasons why people decide, okay, it sounds very cheap and nice in Mexico, but maybe I'll stay away from it. But if in the Philippines you can have a great lifestyle and also have safety, then that's a huge thing. Anyway, I think that's where we'll leave it for today's video. I've learned a lot about the Philippine culture so far, the economy, how it's growing so much in the recent years. I didn't know that, and a lot of expats are moving there to live a lifestyle that they cannot afford in their own countries. I really want to visit the Philippines. I'll make it a New Year's resolution for myself to visit, hopefully this year, but if not next year. But I really want to go soon. It seems like there's amazing people there, amazing food, and things seem to be pretty close to Mexican culture, which I absolutely like as well. Anyway, I guess that is it for today's video. As usual, if there's anything you'd like me to react to next, please put it down in the comments below and I'll make sure I get to it as soon as I possibly can. But without any further ado, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I love you and I will see you next time. Bye.